George, welcome to a rather wet and windy Edinburgh, I'm afraid, tonight. But we're so pleased you've come north to speak to the Age of Scotland Institutes today. And there are a lot of people interested in what you have to say. In fact, there are a lot of people interested in what you have written in your book, Red Flags. And I'd like to talk to you about the things that you'll be discussing later on after this talk. In the week, as we know, before the G20 meeting in Buenos Aires. But could we start with you telling me what motivated you to write this book?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I was motivated to write the book because I've been looking at China for many, many years. I think the first time I wrote it was in about 1993, 1994.
Yes.
And I have been increasingly concerned in recent years, actually, about some of the things that everybody has been watching in China. So the build-up of debt, the fact that it's aging probably more quickly than any other country.
The demographics.
Yeah. And that the country had very ambitious goals, the government had very ambitious goals. None of these things are particularly unique to China. Lots of countries have issues that the Chinese face. But what had really changed in China was the coming to power in 2012 of Xi Jinping. And a period, certainly the first 5 years of his tenure, in which he didn't really pay much attention to the economics and the commerce of the country, but was mostly motivated to cement control of the army, the internal security apparatus, and of course the party. And then we had last year the 19th Party Congress, in which he was almost deified. And then in April of 2018, the National People's Congress, which pretty much was the topping out of the deification of the president and of the control functions, basically, that the party had been charged with administering in all walks of life and society. So I was really motivated to write the book to try to think about China's challenges under this new governance system, which I think are not necessarily compatible with realizing the goals which the Chinese leadership has.
Were you surprised by the events to which you referred, that this is almost deification, or was this something that was going to come anyway?
I think the fact of what happened at the 19th Party Congress in October 2017, I think many of us were not surprised necessarily that it happened, but I think we were kind of certainly taken aback a little bit by the spectacle of how it happened. And particularly then, of course, earlier this year, when the president's term limits were abandoned at the Party Congress. Didn't really mean that much because the president's power comes from his military position and from his position in the party. But to be potentially president for life, that's kind of a big deal.
This is somewhat like the Chairman Mao scenario.
It is. I think it's, in political terms, I think this is a bit of a throwback to the Mao era, whereas, of course, in economic terms, China aspires to leap into the future. So that tension between its kind of economic objectives and its political direction, I think, is interesting, to say the least.
Could you comment about the way in which China has essentially filled the vacuum created by the United States of America not signing the TPP and almost vacating, if you like, a space in Asia-Pacific, for sure?
Yes, and this is a fascinating issue for geopolitical students, for sure. So the withdrawal or the retreat of the United States from what most of us have regarded as its historic, at least post-war historic role as a sort of nurturer and champion of a liberal economic order.
And the Pax Americana,
yes,
people referred to it.
It's a gift to Xi Jinping and to the Chinese to say, come and fill the space. And of course, Xi Jinping did this very effectively when he spoke to the world's elite in Davos in January 2017. He was widely applauded, of course, coming across as the new leader or champion of globalization and the status quo and the trading system. A little bit more complicated than that, because China is not really a free trader in that sense, and it has gained enormously from structure of the world's trading system, but I think it wants to use the trading system to bend the rules in its favour.
Right.
It's a revisionist power rather than a revolutionary power. It doesn't want to turn the world upside down. It wants to kind of bend it and mould it in its own interests. And why wouldn't it want to do that if the United States is on the back foot here?
Trading system brings me on to the other great topic of the moment, again, in the run-up to the Buenos Aires meeting, which is the trade war and the tensions between the United States and China. How do you see those playing out?
Well, I think this is very sensitive because it's not an ordinary trade spat like the Americans had with the Japanese in the 1980s.
Yes.
This is much more serious and it's much more existential because although it's ostensibly about trade, the terms of trade and Trump's obsession with the trade deficit with China, it's really about technology, the rules and regulations that govern industrial policies and commercial exchange between companies. And ultimately, of course, the relevance that these things have for military primacy. So if this was a smaller country, I think nobody would really care, but this is, by all accounts, the world's biggest or second biggest economy in the world. It is an adversary of the United States and of the West in many respects. And so I think that the trade conflict is actually something which is going to be very difficult to resolve. I don't think it's really resolvable by two individuals, two presidents meeting in Buenos Aires.
No.
It's something that actually will require somebody to make meaningful concessions. If I may say, I think that the big problem that the Chinese have in this regard, Trump's issue is tariffs may not be the right tool to bring about the objectives he seeks. The Chinese problem is that they've lost the support of American businesses and European businesses, which were key to the fluid and successful engagement that China had with the West over the last 30, 35 years. Winning back that support might prove quite difficult.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm sure you're going to be asked a lot of questions about it, and there will be a lot of people who will talk to you about that and what the red flags are that you referred to. And so I would like to thank you again for coming, say what a huge pleasure it is for us to have you here in Edinburgh. I know you're staying overnight, you're doing things tomorrow, but thanks for being with us.
No, thanks, Rory. It's a great pleasure.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.